When most people see an ant, they see a tiny insect crossing a kitchen counter or carrying a crumb across a sidewalk. What they do not see is that this single ant is part of one of the most advanced social systems on the planet. Ants are eusocial insects, meaning they live in tightly coordinated colonies with overlapping generations, cooperative care of young, and specialized roles. That combination sounds technical, but it has a simple outcome: ants do more together than any ant could ever do alone. A colony can act like a single body, with individuals functioning like cells in a larger organism. Some ants gather food, some defend, some nurse brood, and some reproduce. This is why scientists often call ant colonies superorganisms. The power of ants is not in individual intelligence or strength. It is in distributed cooperation at scale. And once that system is understood, ants stop looking like background insects and start looking like one of evolution's most effective designs for survival, expansion, and control of ecosystems across the world. Ants belong to the family Formicidae, inside the order Hymenoptera, which also includes bees and wasps. Their evolutionary history points back to wasp-like ancestors during the Cretaceous period, a time when flowering plants spread and many insect lineages diversified rapidly. That origin matters because it helps explain both ant anatomy and behavior. Ants kept key insect traits but shifted toward permanent social living. Over millions of years, natural selection rewarded colonies that coordinated better, defended better, and allocated labor more efficiently. Today, scientists have described more than 13,800 ant species, with estimates suggesting around 22,000 may exist in total. This diversity reflects a huge evolutionary experiment in social adaptation. Ant species differ in diet, nesting style, aggression, climate tolerance, and reproductive strategy, but they share a core framework: division of labor and colony-level success. Their rise was not random. It was built on repeatable social advantages that worked in forests, grasslands, deserts, and even human-built environments, allowing ants to evolve into a global force with extraordinary ecological reach. You can often identify ants instantly by two body features that support their way of life. First are elbowed antennae, which are highly mobile and packed with sensory receptors. These antennae are not just feelers. They are communication tools for reading chemical signals, identifying nestmates, tracking trails, and assessing danger. Second is the narrow waist with node-like segments between thorax and abdomen. This structure increases flexibility, helping ants maneuver in tight tunnels, carry loads, and use their abdomens defensively. Their bodies may look small and simple, but they are engineered for precision work in crowded social systems. Different species then specialize further. Some have powerful mandibles for cutting, some stingers for defense, some enlarged heads for blocking nest entrances. Morphology and behavior are tightly linked. The ant body is not optimized for solo survival in open terrain. It is optimized for cooperative life in dense networks where sensing, signaling, and quick role execution matter every second. In short, their anatomy is part of the colony operating system. A typical ant colony is structured around castes, and each caste supports a different biological function. Most visible ants are sterile females called workers. They forage, build, clean, defend, and care for larvae. In many species, worker subgroups become highly specialized. Larger workers, often referred to as soldiers, may focus on defense or heavy labor, while smaller workers may focus on brood care or food processing. Reproductive roles are concentrated in queens and males. Queens are fertile females that lay eggs, while males, often called drones, primarily exist to mate and usually have short adult lives. This arrangement creates a radical split between reproduction and labor. Instead of every individual trying to reproduce, most ants invest in helping closely related offspring of the queen survive. From an evolutionary perspective, this can still spread shared genes effectively. The result is a colony with clear priorities and reduced internal competition over reproduction. That stability allows long-term planning behaviors such as nest expansion, seasonal storage, coordinated defense, and adaptive foraging patterns that no loosely organized insect group could sustain. Colony size in ants ranges from modest groups of a few dozen individuals in small cavities to massive systems containing millions. In rare cases, interconnected supercolonies can reach hundreds of millions, spread across vast areas through multiple linked nests. As colony size grows, organizational complexity increases. Simple colonies can rely on direct contact and short trails. Huge colonies require layered communication, decentralized decision pathways, and robust role redundancy so tasks continue even when many workers die. This is where the superorganism idea becomes practical, not metaphorical. A large ant colony regulates itself through feedback loops. Food shortage increases foraging, threats increase defensive deployment, brood changes alter labor demand. No central ant gives commands like a human manager. Control emerges from local interactions repeated thousands or millions of times. That decentralized model is incredibly resilient. Damage one part of the colony and the system reroutes effort. Remove workers and new workers transition roles. The colony behaves less like a crowd and more like a living network designed to absorb shocks while preserving core functions. One reason ants have become globally dominant is habitat range. They occupy almost every landmass on Earth, absent mainly from Antarctica and a few remote or extreme islands where conditions block establishment. In moist tropical ecosystems, ant abundance can be so high that their total biomass exceeds that of wild birds and mammals combined. That statistic is not just impressive trivia. It signals ecological influence at scale. Biomass translates to work done in ecosystems, moving soil, redistributing nutrients, preying on other insects, dispersing seeds, cleaning carrion, and shaping microbial environments. Ants do not merely live in ecosystems. They engineer them. Their tunneling changes aeration and water flow in soils. Their foraging redistributes organic matter. Their defensive behavior can alter which species survive near nest zones. Their success across climate zones also shows flexible social design. Ant colonies can modify behavior and nest architecture to cope with heat, humidity, scarcity, and predation pressure. Evolution gave them a toolkit, but social coordination made that toolkit universally effective across widely different ecological theaters. Communication is the hidden infrastructure behind ant success. Ants exchange information through touch, body posture, and especially chemistry. Chemical signals can mark food trails, identify colony membership, trigger alarm responses, coordinate relocation, and regulate reproductive dynamics. What looks like simple following behavior is often dynamic decision-making based on signal strength, reinforcement, and environmental feedback. If a food source is rich, repeated traffic amplifies the trail, recruiting more workers. If danger appears, alarm cues can rapidly switch local behavior from foraging to defense. This kind of communication allows colonies to solve problems collectively, including route optimization, load sharing, and adaptive task allocation. Importantly, ants do not need human-like cognition for these outcomes. Complexity emerges from many simple agents obeying robust interaction rules. That makes ant systems valuable models in science and engineering, from optimization algorithms to distributed robotics. In nature, the practical consequence is speed and reliability. Colonies can detect change, transmit response signals, and execute coordinated action with remarkable efficiency, even in chaotic and competitive environments. Ants are deeply entangled with other species, and these relationships reveal both their ecological sophistication and their adaptability. Some ants form mutualistic partnerships, where both sides benefit, such as protection for food arrangements with sap-feeding insects or defensive relationships with certain plants. Other interactions are commensal, where one species benefits while the other is mostly unaffected. Still others are parasitic, involving exploitation of host colonies or resources. Mimicry adds another layer, with organisms evolving ant-like signals or appearances to infiltrate ant spaces or avoid predators. These relationship types are not fringe behavior. They are central to how ants access energy, defend territory, and expand influence. Long-term coevolution has shaped specialized tactics on both sides, creating arms races and alliances that can persist for generations. Understanding ants therefore requires looking beyond the nest. Their true ecological footprint includes the species they farm, protect, attack, transport, or manipulate. In many habitats, ants function as brokers of interaction networks, influencing not just who survives, but how entire communities organize over time. Humans have a complicated relationship with ants because ant behavior can be both beneficial and disruptive, depending on context. In agriculture and ecology, some ant species act as biological control agents by suppressing pest populations. In cultural settings, ants have appeared in cuisine, medicine, and ritual practices across different societies. Their ubiquity and visible teamwork have also made them symbols in philosophy, literature, and social theory. But the same traits that make ants effective in nature can create conflict with people. Colonies exploit resource opportunities rapidly, so homes, storage areas, and infrastructure can become targets. In farming systems, ants may protect sap-feeding insects that damage crops, or directly interfere with production. Their persistence makes control difficult because removing visible workers does not remove the colony logic behind replenishment. The human challenge is management, not simple elimination. Effective responses depend on understanding species identity, nesting behavior, and ecological role. Treating all ants as identical pests often fails, while informed strategies can reduce harm without destabilizing useful ecological functions. Invasive ants show how quickly colony-based systems can reshape new environments. A well-known example is the red imported fire ant, Solenopsis invicta, native to South America but established in multiple regions through accidental human transport. Once introduced, invasive ants may spread aggressively, outcompete local species, disrupt food webs, and create economic and health burdens. Their success often comes from traits already discussed: coordinated defense, efficient recruitment, broad diet, and flexible nesting. Invasive populations may also benefit from reduced natural enemies compared to their native range. The result can be ecological simplification, where native invertebrate diversity drops and ecosystem processes shift. For humans, consequences include damage to crops, impacts on livestock, infrastructure interference, and painful stings in some cases. Managing invasive ants requires early detection, sustained monitoring, and integrated control strategies rather than one-off treatments. It is a reminder that social efficiency is power, and when that power is moved outside its evolutionary context, it can become destabilizing at both ecological and economic scales. So why do ants matter beyond curiosity? Because they challenge assumptions about intelligence, organization, and power in living systems. Ants demonstrate that large-scale coordination does not require centralized command or high individual cognition. They show how specialization, communication, and feedback can produce resilient, adaptive societies capable of dominating diverse environments for millions of years. They also force us to think in systems, not individuals. A single ant is fragile. A colony is formidable. This principle appears across biology, technology, and even human institutions. Networks outperform isolated agents when rules, signals, and roles align. Studying ants helps us understand ecosystem stability, invasive risk, cooperation dynamics, and design principles for distributed problem solving. Their story is not just about insects in the dirt. It is about how complexity emerges, how cooperation scales, and how small units can generate planetary impact when connected through robust social architecture. Once you see ants through that lens, every trail on the ground becomes evidence of a hidden civilization operating with quiet, relentless precision. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.